Peace, y'all. Welcome to another day that nobody's reading, where nobodies are reading. We are reading How to Outsmart the Credit Bureau. We have made it to like page. What page are we on? We made it to page 49. We talked about. It feels like there's something touching my leg. We talked about what the history of the credit bureaus, how like they started from military companies and grocery store consumer reports, and they just been expanding, how they work, the e-Oscar system, which is the internet system, how credit reports work, what matters on your credit report, the different codes on your credit report, the way the computer systems work, how they establish your file and things. They gave you some tricks on how to outsmart them with copy and pasting letterheads and all that shit, and getting police reports and submitting police reports. You do that how thou wilt. They also gave in this book some templates for disputing things and removing things from your credit report, like student loans and inquiries and all that stuff, different information they have up there and stuff. And then the importance of avoiding credit repair companies, because most of the companies are acting as a third party, and often they do not gain your consent, so they can inquire and receive your credit report from 3 major credit bureaus. And when they are successful in gaining data, they only dispute negative items on your credit report. It's difficult for credit repair companies to act on your behalf because the credit bureaus don't like them, and they already know who they are. So a lot of people take your money to do shit that you could like do it yourself and be more efficient. So, and then it talks about debt consolidation, which is a thing, and staying away from disclosure forms. Hey, Elevated, how you doing, beloved? Hey, T Bush, the fuck Bush, my bad. How you doing? I'm great. Happy Monday, y'all. I feel great. I'm getting things in order. Let me change my privacy on here. So we have a disclosure request. Then there is a request for investigation, research request form. So it's all these like cool templates up here. How tax IDs work on page 52. The following method is included as information only. It may be considered illegal if used in the wrong way. If you want further explanation, you should consult an attorney. Tax ID numbers like TIN or employer ID numbers, which is EIN, are used for the purpose of business identification by the government and the IRS, as well as for paying taxes. To put it plain and simple, they are old social security numbers of deceased people that are regenerated by the IRS. When companies apply for an EIN, they are really receiving an old social security number. That's interesting. Listed below are the beginning social security numbers the Social Security Administration assigns by state to immigrants and newborn babies who are virtually known in the beginning. So then it has like all the state Jones. What's New Jersey? 135 to 158. Okay. What state y'all in? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, my bad. I forgot to pull here. So New Jersey, yeah, that sounds about right. All of our the first 3 numbers is between 135 to 158. For those of you that's in PA, yours is 159 to 211. Maryland is 212 to 220. New York is 050 to 134. I know some folks in Virginia, that's 223 to 231. Arizona is 600 to 601. Some Cali folks, 602 to 626. That's cool. 650 to 699 is unassigned for future use. 700 to 728 is railroad workers through 1963, then discontinued. 729 to 799 is unassigned for future use, and 800 to 999 is not valid social security numbers. So if you ever see an 800 to 999, they know it's not valid. Some sources have claimed that numbers above 900 were used when some state programs were converted to federal control, but Social Security Administration documents claim no numbers above 799 have ever been used. How to obtain a tax ID number. To obtain a tax ID number, you must complete a form like the one on the following page, or you can simply call the IRS at 800-829-1040 and receive it. That's the SS4. That's the application for an employer identification number. I think brother, what's his name? Brother Panic. I want to say that's his name. He was big on telling people how to get their EIN, especially if you want an 85, not an 85. Shit, what's the EIN number? It's the foreign EIN number, John. You want? Where's my notes at? I know it's got it here somewhere. There is a foreign EIN number though. Hold up. I'm gonna tell you, hold on.
Allows non-U.S. residents to obtain a unique identification number for tax and business purposes without needing a social security number.
I know what the EIN number is, but I want to know which one is the foreign one. It's the 89, right? It should be like 89 dash whatever. It is the SS4 that you want, though, to the SS4 form on the IRS website. That is what you want to fill out, pre-fill out before you call the number. That way you got it already, written out what you want to say, how you want to say it, whatever, what have you.
EINs beginning with the number 98 might identify foreign entities that may maintain domestic trusts in the United States.
Thank you. It's the 98 number. I had dyslexia for a moment.
You're fine.
It's the 98 number you want. It's the 85 number they usually give you. So the technique of using an EIN to repair your credit is finding out if you have a good number that will not be flagged by the credit bureaus. The first step would be to make sure you have the proper identification. What I mean by this is you must make sure that your social security number is not listed on your driver's license. People are using tax ID numbers to replace their social security numbers on loan applications. Using the next steps will keep credit obtained under your social security number separate from the credit obtained under your tax ID number. Remember, you will be lying on your credit application if you use this number in place of your social security number. This is illegal on certain applications dealing with anything such as the FHA, VA, or HUD loans. You will be violating federal law, and if convicted, you can receive $250,000 fine and 5 years in federal prison. There are some states that are prosecuting at a state level for giving false information on your loan application. If you fill out an application and write EIN next to it where it says social security number, I do not see how you would be lying on your application because you are telling the company it is not a social security number. If you use this new account to purchase things on credit with the intention of not repaying the loan, you are committing fraud. That's what the 1099A and C is for. When using an EIN or a TIN to repair your credit, you should open up a checking and savings account at a local bank, preferably a credit union. There are very critical things you must understand about how the credit bureau's computer systems are set up to establish new credit files. Remember, the computer systems at the credit bureaus operate off a matching technique using your last name, your first name, your date of birth with your street mailing address, and your 5-digit zip code. The computer system can easily be thrown off if you use a new zip code or if you change your birth date 2 or 3 days. Let's say your name is John Doe and your real date of birth is May 14th, 1964, and your mailing zip code is 34678. To throw off the computer system, you can simply change your birth date by a few days and use the zip code of a family member or a friend. The best way to get started with establishing credit with the EIN would be to apply for a secure credit card since you know you won't be turned down. Once you have established your credit account and maintained it for about 6 months, then you may apply for an unsecured credit account, such as gas card or a department store account. If at any point you make a mistake and use information from your true credit file, such as your actual birth, the computer system at the credit bureaus will automatically merge your new credit file with your old one. As an alternative, you can also apply for a Dun & Bradstreet account, which can be obtained by calling 800-234-3867. Dun & Bradstreet was established for the purpose of maintaining business credit reports, and once you receive a number, you can use it to apply for credit in your business using a DUNS number on an application. All right, y'all touching my leg. Creating a new credit file legally. There are many ways of trying to outsmart the credit bureau's illegally, but this method is completely legal if you follow the instructions carefully. You can establish a new credit file simply by legally changing your name. Go to your local courthouse with a notarized name change petition for a new name and name change order. You can change your last name, your first name and last name, your middle name and last name, or your complete full name. Your last name, your new last name should not start with the first letter of your current last name. After you have followed these steps, consider yourself a new person with a new identity. I feel like a whole new person. The next thing you must do is change your address. You may use one of your friends or your relative addresses that is different from yours, or rent a P.O. box. Remember, it cannot be an address you have used before. When you have established a new address, you should take your new name change order to the Social Security office and ask for a new card. You will receive your same name number, but it will be under your new name. This will not affect anything legally or your benefits. By getting a new card with a new name, you have just created another new computer record under federal law. Now that you have your new card, take your new name change order to the DMV to update and change your state driver's license. You will receive a new number under your new name and new address. This changes your identity and creates a new computer DMV record. If you are stopped for speeding, only your name and new address are retained. Your previous DMV record will not show up unless you are arrested. This is very important because remember that Experian owns AutoCheck, which contains vehicle registration for any car you have purchased that contains your old driver's license record. In addition to that, Equifax owns ChoicePoint. Getting your new driver's license under your new name enables you to receive lower car insurance rates even if you have previous accidents or speeding tickets. All that shit is connected, y'all. Once you get your new driver's license, change your name on your auto title and registration. You can get auto insurance cheaper with no negatives on your registration. When you change your driver's license and the name and address on your automobile registration, title, and auto insurance, you have instantly created a legally clean driver record, a new DMV record, and a new auto insurance file under your new name. Now there won't be any points against you for speeding tickets, accidents, and moving violations. Remember that when you apply for insurance, not only do the insurance companies run a credit check at some agencies, but they also use a system called Kosmic. Now, when I'm reading this, I think about what the Moorish Science Empire was doing when they were getting people to change their names, telling them to get a 9-8 number, and doing all of that. So it makes sense that people were being arrested and things from that because we basically did what it said in a book that, you know, especially if you don't know law and you don't know how to speak it and shit, once you got caught, they kind of like come for your ass. But if you have a job, inform your employer of your new name and have them change your employment records to reflect it. This gives you a good job record for your new identity, especially if you have been there for a long period of time. The next step is to send a certified copy of your new name change order to the health department or vital statistics in the state where you were born and ask them to send you a certified new birth certificate reflecting your new name. You will need this for passports. You should also send a certified copy of your new name change order to all schools you've attended and request they change your name and that they send you a certified copy of your school records and diplomas or degrees earned. Finally, apply for a credit card over the internet or locally, which establishes your new file with all 3 credit bureaus instantly. Your new credit file will be blank and will have no credit on it. So do not be tempted to contact the company with whom you have good credit and have the company put the good account under your new name. Do not report any credit you had before your name change. If you do, the credit bureaus will enter not just the good credit, but all the bad stuff under both your old and new name since the files will be cross-referenced. This mistake will make your new credit file merge with your old one. Then you will have bad credit again, and all the work you have done will be useless. The only other way to establish a new credit file other than being an authorized user under another person's credit is opening a savings account and applying for a secured credit card at your local bank. Remember to do this after you apply for a credit card over the internet or locally establish your new credit file with each of the credit bureaus. The last thing to remember about this process is that if the police run your new name, this initial entry will establish a new police record and FBI file as long as you are not fingerprinted. If you break the law and are arrested, your fingerprints will show your old and new identities. This is important because most employers do background and credit checks, and when your old and new names are cross-referenced, the employer will know you were not once creditworthy as far as corporate America is concerned. Opening checking account even when banks won't let you. There is a vast majority of the population in the United States who cannot open a checking account because they have one, bad credit, two, outstanding check with telecheck or check systems, or three, have been a victim of identity theft. If you have this problem, don't worry. There is a way for you to open a checking account. There are two types of checking and savings accounts. One is for personal and the other is for commercial, otherwise known as a business checking account. The only thing that you need to open a business checking account is a business license, tax ID number, and articles of incorporation from the state in which you have obtained your business license. All this may seem complicated to some, but it is very simple. Your first step in opening a business checking account is to obtain a tax ID number. As I've mentioned, this can be done by calling IRS at 800-829-1040 or filling out an SS4 application. I personally advise you do both. Call them and then fax the letter in as well. Now, keep in mind that when you call, you must have a business name in mind. You can use your home address as the business location. When you call the IRS, you must follow the prompts and request the business tax option. Once you have a live operator on the phone, he will assist you in obtaining your tax ID or employer identification number. Remember, I said get a 98 number. They're going to give you an 85 number automatically, but I will go for the 98. Once you have your tax ID number, the next thing you should do is file for your articles of incorporation within the state you live. This should not cost more than $100. In order to get the necessary papers to incorporate, you should contact the Secretary of State's office located in your state capital. The reason you should have your business incorporated is because sometimes banks will want you to open a regular account if you are a sole proprietor. After you have received your articles of incorporation, purchase your business license. The fee for obtaining it will be no more than $50. Once you have your license, tax ID number, and articles of incorporation, you are now ready to open a business checking account. So let's rewind. You got to get your articles of incorporation. You got to get your business license. You got to get your tax ID from the SS4 form. The articles of incorporation, that's the letter you get from the Secretary of State when you register your business. So I believe that was like $250 for me, but that's because I did it as an LLC. Yeah. And and that's what you need to get your banking account, your business banking account, for those who are trying to get one. And remember, I said you should shoot for a 98 number when you go to the IRS for that SS4. These are some banks, such as Bank of America, that will not. Oh, keep in mind that some banks will run your social security number through check systems, even when you are opening a business account, which I've encountered. There are some banks, such as Bank of America, that will not. Bank of America simply checks to make sure your tax ID number is valid. For those banks that still use your social security number along with your tax ID number, there's a way to get around all that as well. If you run into this problem, you should find someone close whom you trust who is not listed with check system and use them as the authorized signer on the account. This will prevent the bank from having to run your name through check system. After the account has been opened, you should have the business check card and the PIN number forwarded to your home address to prevent the individual who's authorized signer from getting any money out of the account without your knowledge. The last thing to remember is there is no need to order checks because you will have a debit card with a PIN number in hand. So identity theft. One of the fastest growing crimes in America is identity theft. I had my identity stolen a couple times. I don't know why, but go off. Mm-hmm. Having someone steal your identity can turn your life upside down if you do not understand how to fight it and the laws that govern the creditors and the credit bureaus. Have you ever had something on your credit that did not belong to you, and when you contacted the credit bureau, they told you to contact the creditor, only for the creditor to say, contact the credit bureau? Yup. Well, this is no longer a problem if you know your rights. When you have something on your credit that may be fraudulent or you suspect it to be fraud, simply go to your local police station and file a police report for the items. If the police department does not want to take the police report from you, do not let this discourage you. The Federal Trade Commission has provided the following information when it comes to filing a police report. Excuse me. Local authorities may tell you that they can't take a report, stress the importance of a police report. Many creditors require one to resolve your dispute. Also remind them that under the Voluntary Police Report Initiative, credit bureaus will automatically block the fraudulent accounts and bad from appearing on your credit report. But only if you can give them a copy of the police report. If you can't get to the local police to take a report, try your county police. If that doesn't work, try your state police. If you are told that the identity theft is not a crime under your state law, ask to file a miscellaneous incident report instead. Once you have done this, send a copy to your police report. Send a copy of your police report to 3 major credit bureaus. This will automatically remove these items from your credit file. This may take up to 30 days. The great part about this is that the stress and the burden of proof fall back on the creditor. You're probably thinking that this is not simple or easy, but it is indeed. There is a little law called the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, which was passed in December 2003. This law basically outlines the following guidelines. 1, it requires the presence of a fraud alert on a consumer's credit report and requires additional verification before issuing credit. 2, it gives consumers the right to obtain financial records from businesses where thieves use their names. 3, it gives consumers the right to block fraudulent trade lines, otherwise known as credit account information, from appearing on their credit reports. 4, it gives consumers the right to make one call to the bureaus to obtain fraud alerts on all 3 reports. 5, it imposes new account opening verification standards and rules against repolution on reports with previously detected fraudulent accounts. Some rights may require consumers to provide businesses or credit bureaus with a notarized ID theft affidavit or a copy of the filed police report. Trust me when I tell you that the creditor will never attempt to dispute your fraudulent claim. Remember that all 3 credit bureaus operate off a computer system, which is eOscar, that updates every 30 or 60 days, but every 30 days are more likely. Consider sending your disputes to more than one department at the various credit bureaus. To place a fraud alert on your credit file, call the following. Experian is 888-397-3742. Equifax is 888-766-0008. TransUnion is 800. Why'd that happen? TransUnion is 800-680-7289. File freeze. A file freeze is very important to you as a consumer because it gives you the ability to control your own credit file. This bill was passed in 2003 and it allows consumers to place a security freeze on their file. This stops credit bureaus from releasing information to credit grantors without the consumer's express authorization or by law. The file freeze bill has never been passed in 9 states: Connecticut, Massachusetts, Nevada, New Mexico, New Jersey, New York, Texas, Vermont, and California. This is another weapon you, the consumer, can use against the credit bureaus. They do not like it simply because they see it as a hassle and it gives them less control over your credit file. The freeze will block access to your credit, period. That means nothing can happen unless they personally release the freeze by contacting the credit bureaus and giving them your PIN code. Things such as information does not belong to you and have been placed on your credit due to fraud can be taken off. If you do not live in one of the states that has already passed this bill giving consumers the right to place a file freeze on their credit, don't worry. This bill will eventually affect every state in the country since identity theft is one of the fastest growing crimes in America. I hope you have discovered something in this book you will find useful in your efforts to restore your credit and your good name. Remember that only those who are not afraid to take risks may truly discover the wealth of the world. Financial power is held by those with the best information and the most fearless attitude to expand their wealth. I challenge anyone who has read this book to stop giving in to the herd instinct. That means challenge those things that everyone else assumes to be correct. People need to fight their fears and develop a sense of faith. Lord Mansfield's ancient concept was no man shall enrich himself unjustly at the expense of another. This is exactly what the rich are doing to the poor. There is a price to be paid for knowledge, but there is also a reward for those willing to pay that price. The only way to overcome the problem of credit or the pressure of education is wealth. One thing that the Japanese and Chinese would do in order to create a similar or better product than the American brand is to buy an American product, take it apart to examine how it was assembled, then they will build a better product. This is what we all should practice. Examine politics, economics, credit bureaus, religion, and education. The only way to put the puzzle together is to take it apart. Thomas Jefferson once said, "If a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects something that cannot be." I relate that to individuals who just follow or assume without question. Financial freedom will never come where ignorance exists. This book was not written to create some type of radical or illegal actions. It was written simply with the message to wake up and discover your wealth, because it does not always come by way of education or employment from someone else. That's the motherfucking message, y'all. The section, okay, so now this is the section of dispute letters. This section of the book has been completely dedicated to dispute letters that you may use for the purpose of disputing anything on your credit report. These letters range from inquiries to questioning inaccurate or fraudulent credit card accounts. Please keep in mind that anytime you use any one of these letters, send it by certified mail. We love certified mail, so go ahead into the post office and grab all them little green joints. This is a good way of record keeping. Also, remember that you should try and keep a file of every credit report that you receive from the credit bureaus. For example, you should file all information pertaining to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian together. So they have all these sample letters here. They have one: removal of information that does not belong to your credit, removal of outdated information from your credit report, follow-up letter when you do not get a response the first time, letter to stop collection agencies from obtaining a debt from you. I like that one. I am requesting that your company discontinue its efforts to collect on the above account. By law, I do not have to deal with your agency as it relates to this account. Therefore, you should stop contacting me. I have made arrangements with the original creditor to settle this matter. That's interesting. Letter to the bureau after collection agency can't prove you owe. This letter is being written to dispute the above account, which I have done several times. You have responded by stating that the creditor or collection agency verified the account. I have contacted the collection agency creditor on several occasions as well, and they have yet to respond to my dispute. Therefore, your company cannot have reached them concerning this debt. The Fair Credit Reporting Agency requires that you respond to my dispute within 30 days, as well as verify its accuracy. If the account cannot be verified, your company must delete the account from my credit report. If you cannot show proof that you have verified this debt and continue to list this item on my credit report, I'm prepared to sue your company under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. This is a letter to validate a debt. And then remove inquiries from a credit report. Remove inquiries. Letter to remove fraudulent account. Letter placed to freeze on credit, dispute letters, remaining items, response letter to credit bureau verification, follow-up letter when bureau did not respond to dispute letter, response to credit repair service, challenge the verification process. I have received a letter claiming that I owe a debt to blank. Since this is an error, I request that you send me the following proof as you are obliged to do in accordance with Debt Collection Practices Act, Section 1692G. A, the original application or contract. B, any and all statements allegedly related to this debt. C, any and all signed receipts. D, any and all canceled checks. Under the law, you have 30 days to supply this proof. In addition, do not contact me again via phone. From now on, we will communicate through mail. I like that letter. Request to remove bankruptcy information, dispute of unauthorized credit inquiry, request for removal of outdated information. And we'll get into some of these letters even more so with Brandon. And Christopher Hauser is big on these letters too, disputing debt. We talked about this a little bit in how to meet your strongman, with how to write back to the IRS or anybody else that's saying they owe you, because there has to be a meeting of minds, and corporations do not have a mind. So they cannot be in agreement with you, or you cannot be in agreement with them. That's why they try to get you to claim your strawman. And then the list of strawmans that they have on your credit report. Proof of contract request. This says, I am in receipt of your company's letter informing me that you are handling the collection of the account mentioned above. However, after reviewing my records, I am unable to find any documentation of any contractual relationship between the company and me, which makes you a person entitled to enforce a commercial claim against me. This letter is not a request for verification or validation. This is a request for proof of contract to substantiate your claim. Provide me with a certified copy of an original contract with my signature, specifically naming your company as a person entitled to enforce a commercial claim against me. Certification can be done through the presence of a notary public who duly swears a copy made is in fact a copy of the original paper contract in question. Failure to respond and provide strict proof of contract would constitute your tacit agreement that you, name a president, and name a company, are not entitled to enforce a claim against me. In the event you continue your collection efforts against me without providing proof of contract, I will file a complaint with the Attorney General and Federal Trade Commission and file a police report against you for harassment and invasion of privacy. You have 30 days to provide strict proof of contract. In the event you cannot provide strict proof of contract, you must cease and desist any and all collection efforts and immediately remove any derogatory information reported to the consumer reporting agencies. If you transfer this account to an attorney without providing proof of contract, we will be immediately reported to the State Bar Association and Professional Liability Fund of Code of Ethics violations. And so, like, it's a nice chapter. It's just straight up templates, that you can utilize. Dispute letters is what they call them. So, contact, telephone, and fax numbers. We have the Experian numbers here, Equifax numbers here, TransUnion, and Novus. And Novus is one of them. They got the addresses in here in the back of the book as well. Yeah. So Ezekiel, I need you to read the glossary, which is just words and some definitions. And then we're gonna close this book on out. I'm gonna turn the light on. Yeah, I got you.
All right. The glossary. Account inquiries. A request for information involving credit history. Affiliate credit institutions. A branch or group of companies connected as members to a business of origin. Agents. One who is authorized to act for or in place of another as a business representative. A authorized user. A person invested, especially with legal authority, to have the same privileges as primary authority. Bank. An establishment for the custody, loan, exchange, or issue of money for the extension of credit and for facilitating the transmission of funds. Bankruptcy. A person who has done any of the acts that by law entitle his creditors to have his estate administered for their benefit. Car sweep, used by insurance policies. Charge-offs, to treat as a loss or expense. Comprehensive loss underwriting exchange. Clue, a claim history information exchange that enables insurance companies to access prior claim information in the underwriting and rating process. Consumer Credit Protection Act, a law enacted by Congress to protect consumers from unfair credit practices that regulates credit reporting agencies, collection agencies, and creditors. Consumer reporting agencies complies and maintains files on consumers nationwide. It regularly engages in the practice of assembling, or evaluating and maintaining information about a person's creditworthiness, credit standing, or credit capacity to third parties, also known as credit bureaus. Then we have Credit Repair Agency, a company that provides a service to restore creditworthiness and remove bad debt from a consumer's credit report. Then Databank, a computer system that specializes in the professional storage, transportation, and management of corporate data. Database, a large collection of data organized especially for rapid search and retrieval as by a computer. Database vendors, companies that sell large collections of data stored for the purpose of rapid search and retrieval. Employee ID number, also known as a federal tax identification number used to identify a business entity. eOscar, a web-based automated system that enables data furnishers and credit reporting agencies to create and respond to consumer credit history disputes. Then Equal Credit Opportunity Act prohibits credit discrimination on the bias of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, or marital status. Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act. This net amends the Fair Credit Reporting Act to protect identity theft victims, to place fraud alerts on their credit files, and allow consumers to work with creditors and credit bureaus to prevent the rendition of fraudulent information on their credit reports. Then we have the Fair Credit Billing Act, designed to protect the consumer against inaccurate and unfair credit billing and credit card practices. The Fair Credit Reporting Act, used to promote accuracy and ensure the privacy of the information used in consumer reports. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, enacted to protect consumers from unfair and deceptive debt collection practices. Federal Trade Commission is an independent agency of the U.S. government established in 1915 and charged with keeping American businesses competition free and fair. File freeze, a security freeze that allows consumers to stop the sharing of credit with potential creditors. Identity theft, a crime in which someone wrongfully obtains and uses another person's personal information in some way that involves fraud or deception, typically for economic gain. Metropolitan statistical area, a geographical location used to examine a population or race of people with similar characteristics. Miscellaneous incident report, a non-crime report submitted for information purposes only. A PACER system, electronic public access service that allows users to obtain case and docket information from federal appellate, district and bankruptcy courts, and from the U.S. Party Case Index. Plus discount card, member cards that provide discounts to consumers who shop at certain grocery stores. Power of attorney, a legal instrument authorizing one to act as the attorney or agent of the grantor. Secured credit card, to give a pledge of payment to a creditor as collateral to obtain credit. Tax ID, an identification number used by the International Revenue Service in the administration of tax laws. It is issued either by the Social Security Administration or the IRS. Third-party companies. In contract law, a third party is any person or company other than the two principals, the first party and the second party, who is involved in or affected by a contract. Type A system. Consumers identifying information to be entered into the computer system in an attempt to match existing data. If no matching information is found, a new file is created. Then a Type B system, established mainly on the consumer's social security number, employer identification number, or tax identification number. If the consumer's name, address, and zip code do not match the last four digits of the social security number that is stored in the database, then a new file is created. That's it for the glossary.
Yay, we finished the book. What you get from the book?
They should never have your medical information. That it can be an easy way for you to win lawsuits against a credit bureau, since they themselves are not a person. You can also file in letters that they should have legal documentation of you legally consenting in written form, as well as pictures or brochures of any documents suggesting that they given any of the stolen information to you. Well, to them. Sorry, did not word that correctly. Kind of wish they went over more bankruptcy scenarios other than stolen information.
Yeah. And I like the stuff that he said at the end about empowering yourself with knowledge, and being afraid is not going to help you get the liberation you're looking for. So you're going to have to be fearless in your pursuit of cleaning up your credit and clearing up the accounts and stuff like that. Um, and just having like the whole gist of how all this shit started to begin with, which just sounds like really illegal on the low low. Very interesting, very interesting. But because of contract law, we kind of like make it legal because we sign things and we don't read them. Like you get a credit card and you sign it, you don't read it. You get a debit card, you sign it, you don't read it. You allow the updates to keep happening. And now that they have everything on a virtual world, your app gets an update. You basically just signed a term and condition. So the updates you automatically sign up for too. They're not going to tell you, what you signed up for. Sometimes they do, but who reads them? You know what I mean? So like it's kind of like having to really, really pay attention because this virtual reality is really what's going to fuck people up because we're learning the paper route. Meanwhile, we still got these apps on our phone that is undoing contracts. I mean, that's redoing contracts that we're trying to undo in paper form. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be mindful of that, keeping your head on a swivel. It's where it belongs. And so now we're going to get to my favorite part. This is my favorite part because I've been learning so much. We're actually going to do 3 videos today because they're all really short. So we have 16, 17, and 18. I'm going to start with 17, the ultimate secret to total freedom, and how you become contracted into the system. And then we have 18, which is reserving your rights, the UCC, and how the state and common law. And then we got a 30-minute joint afterwards, trust, commerce, and private membership associations. So these are really good videos that we're about to do. So please pay attention. We're getting closer and closer to doing like couponing and all that stuff. So that's exciting. Beyond cheating. What up, baby? We are learning about contract law. How you doing, goddess? How's your day?
Welcome back.
They set up our strategies for
Welcome back. We're getting close to the halfway-ish mark on what I have planned for this course. I know it's a lot. I don't necessarily recommend that if you're just feeling like, oh my God, and your mind is just completely melted by this point. If you need to take a break, that's pretty normal, man. I mean, there's been so many times during all this discovery process where I was just like, so fucking like, oh my God, like coming out of the Matrix, and it's just so intense. Sometimes, dude, you just got to like chill, maybe have a beer, maybe have a pizza, chill for a few days, chill for a week. I had to do it a million times throughout all of this. So, if you have to do that, I don't necessarily recommend that if you're feeling like your mind is just completely melting off of your body, the choice is yours, but taking a chill for a minute, taking a few days off. I'm trying to condense, many, what would be considered many years. So I've only been studying all this stuff and going down these rabbit holes for about 8 months. But prior to learning about all this, I had already learned a lot about the Rothschilds and the bloodlines and again, not so much the conspiracy theories. I'm not a big fan of those, but conspiracy fact. I find a lot of interest in a lot of that kind of stuff and research and reading books and watching a lot of documentaries and stuff like that. So I find it all very fascinating, and I have been sort of studying a lot of things for a very long time, and then also as a Scientologist, we are trained, generally speaking, not all of us, but a lot of people involved in the religion, we're trained in what's called a study technology, right? And in the study of technology, we learn how to clear the definitions of words and trace down derivations of words. And when we're reading, there's certain things that kind of happen to you and you start feeling a certain way. And then you can kind of like locate words that you didn't understand that you were just reading. There's a whole training that we do called Student Hat, which is this like monstrous like 4 weeks at 40 hours a week course that's offered at the church on how to study. So I think, you know, a lot of people are would think to themselves like, damn, Brandon, you've only been studying this shit for 8 months. Like, how are you so advanced? There's two reasons for it. The first reason is because I'm trained to the bone when it comes to this, how to study. And I have this special technology under my belt that's very, very powerful. And I've cleared up. I mean, God, I think I started in Scientology maybe in like 2006. And since that time, I've cleared up, oh my God. I mean, it's got to be hundreds of thousands of words and phrases. So, and I've also obviously written 2 books over here. You can see it on the left-hand side of the video. So my command of the English language and words in general is pretty good. So I came into this studying this super hot, super heavy, spent a lot of money, I hired James C. Lovett. I hired another guy, a buddy of mine named John. I was talking to James Hauser or Chris Hauser personally, one-on-one. Not a lot, a little bit before he blew up and became super big. And then after that, I couldn't get a hold of him anymore. So, you know, I've sent a couple of emails back and forth to Anna von Reitz. I have friends in the California Assembly. I just completely immersed myself in this. And also in the past 10 years or so, there's been a lot of material released on this. There's a lot more material available. I think before maybe 2006 or 2009 or maybe even 2012, there really wasn't a whole lot of material available on this. You had to really, really dig. So when you find guys that have been doing this for, 30 or 40 years, like your Anna von Reitz and your David Straight and your all this and all that, it's like these people are the pioneers. These people are the ones who really dug all this up. So I don't want anybody to think that, old Brandon, he's some kind of like, astronomical, above human intelligence or whatever. Really, all I feel like I'm doing with this course is organizing the information in a sequential way so that anyone can understand it regardless of anything, and making it fun to learn. Like in my mind, that's all I'm doing. I didn't figure all this out. I figured out some of it. But really, I think the area where I shine and the area where I can be of value is I really understand the trust of me as the trustee and you as the beneficiary. That's the most important part. And then the second part is I can see and I can picture myself, because I'm a professional marketing salesperson. I can kind of put myself in the position of the watcher, someone who's right off the street. And I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like these videos and the way that I'm doing them sequentially, it allows a person to go from the ground floor and then go up the elevator without falling off the elevator. Hopefully, I hope. So, and it's fun and it's engaging and I'm fucking crazy and wild and all this. So it's, I think that's kind of where I shine. So you might be thinking at this point, I mean, if you're this far in the course, you're probably pretty intelligent individual. But if you think that I'm some kind of a fucking genius, something like that, no, I really don't think that's the case. I think I've consumed a lot of information from a lot of different people. I don't recommend just studying one person. You should be watching all of the Christopher Hauser videos. You should be reading all of the books by Anna von Reitz. I think she's only got 2 or 3. You should be reading all of the books that are so-called written by David E. Robinson. You should be reading Miracle on Main Street from F. Tupper Saucy. You should be watching all of the videos from David Straight. You should be downloading and purchasing everything from James C. Levitt, watching all of his videos on YouTube after completing this course. So you can go, you can go as far as you want with all of this, and you can continue your studies, and you can kind of branch off from here. But the whole point of this course is to be engaging and sequential. And I think that's those two things are the main things missing from learning and understanding all of this information. Is it's either not the easiest thing to read, or frankly, every single person that's out there, they use a lot of legal terminology to explain other legal terminology, and they just kind of get, to really bring this whole thing down to the ground floor. I think that's really where I shine. And I think that's really where the value that I can bring to the table on this whole thing. So I just want to be clear. If anybody, if you ever hear anybody talking shit, saying, oh, Brandon is better than or less than, any of these people, or Anna von Reitz is this compared to David Straight, and, Christopher Hauser is this and this compared to this. And it's just like, I mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it again. It's just really sad. I mean, Anna von Reitz, I've heard some pretty strange things that she's done. She gets very, very upset when she doesn't get what she wants, but I think ultimately what she wants is something good. So, we all have our flaws. We all have our pros and cons. Everyone's going to connect with people differently. So I don't recommend any one person more or less than anybody else. My personal strong recommendation is, as I've already recommended before, there's just two recommendations that I have for every single person watching these videos. Recommendation number one: never, ever, ever assume the definitions of words, phrases, or terms. Ever. And if you don't know what the definition of word is, look that up. If you don't know the definition of phrase is, look up what the definition of phrase is. If you don't know what the definition of term is, if you might think like, oh, I know this stuff. What do you think I am, a retard? When I looked up the word term in the dictionary, I was surprised. The word term, let's see here. Sometimes you got to look in multiple dictionaries, and you look in multiple dictionaries, and then you just kind of, women are probably going to be better at what I'm about ready to say than men, but you just kind of get that feeling. Oh yeah, this is, there's that clarity or that emotional feeling that comes from locating the definition that, you might need to search for a while, but it's like you're searching for that feeling or that certainty in your own world. If you're like, or you're not too sure, don't accept it. Again, definitions there's a million different ones. They create new ones all the time. They're trying to create new ones all the time. Black's Law is always changing the definitions. When you write a conditional acceptance, you can write literally whatever definition you want for any word. It's more open than you think. It's not just like you look at one. The breakdown of the idea of defining a word is searching for and locating a meaning that is within the confines and boundaries, because defining something, the definition of the word define means to create a boundary for, or if you study the derivation of the word, it means to create a boundary for, or to a limiting sector, right? Like, if like what they're doing with the term man and women, they're trying to eliminate the boundaries of what those words mean, so that men mean everything and that women mean everything, right? The problem is that the actual word definition, or the idea of defining something, the action of defining something means to take it and you say, I don't know where the boundaries of this word is. And a word is essentially a series of symbols, right? So you have a series of symbols, and it just like, boom, it could mean anything. It's limitless. And by the action of defining the word, you're bringing the limits down, and you're saying this series of symbols has this meaning. But the thing is that you're kind of sort of deciding where those limitations are for yourself. So when you look at a bunch of different definitions, and none of them really click for you, and you're like, you're just kind of not feeling it, you got to keep looking and keep looking and keep looking. And that's where Black's Law becomes really fascinating, because Black's Law contains all sorts of definitions that you've never seen or heard from any other dictionary anywhere. And there's other law dictionaries too. There's one called, we're going to get back to this definition. There's one called Bovier's Law Dictionary. I forget how you, Bovier's Law Dictionary. I don't use this law dictionary, but this is a very big one. And it looks like right here, I believe I actually found this before. So this is actually Bovier's Dictionary, revised 6th edition from 1856. This is a full online version for free of that entire dictionary. So let's say I wanted to go into Bovier's, and I wanted to go down to jurisdiction, which is one of our favorite words now. Here's jurisdiction. So it's got some of the same definitions as Black's Law, which is good. Black's Law is pretty much the standard. And in my opinion, in the opinion of Christopher Hauser as well, because my opinion basically comes from him on this, is the 4th and the 5th edition of Black's Law is the best ones to get your hands on. They can be very expensive. So finding digital copies, someone like me or someone else can give you digital copies of Black's Law 4th and 5th editions. It shouldn't be terribly hard to find on the internet. Black's Law 4th edition. 4th edition is the one that I pretty much always use. Black's Law 4th edition PDF is what I typed in here, right? And the first thing that popped up, it looks like it's the entire dictionary. Black's Law 4th edition. Beautiful. Wow, look at this. This is a beautiful version of it. Look how clear it is. Oh, bless the people who do these things. Bless their soul. So you want to get this bad boy. Now, what I would do is I would take this thing and I would download it onto your phone. It's a pretty big file, but still, I would anyways. And put it on everything. Put it on your phone. Put it on your laptop. Put it on your desktop computer. Put it on your tablet. Put it everywhere. You want access to this thing everywhere, and then you want to put it on your I'm talking about the Black's Law 4th edition, and you want to give it away, man. You want to give it away to every single person you possibly can. And it's such a big file, it can be hard to give away. So what you can do is you can put it in like Google Drive, and then you can just share it. You can create a sharing link and just share the hell out of it. Send it to all your friends, your family, everybody. More people who have access to Black's Law Dictionary, the more people who have access to their freedoms and their rights, period. You can't do any of these things. You can't get your rights back without a Black's Law Dictionary. Black's Law 4th edition. Black's Law 4th edition, in my opinion, is the difference between a slave and a man or a woman, a human, in the eyes of the law. It can be overwhelming, yes. You just have to, there's no way around it. Life is overwhelming. Relationships are overwhelming. Children are overwhelming. Work is everything's kind of, in a way, sometimes can be overwhelming. This is no different. So get your hands on the Black's Law 4th edition PDF. Put it on everything. Take a look at it. Never, ever, ever assume the definitions of words. And I'm getting back to long tangent. Getting back to the two main tips that I have. Right. The two main tips that I have are never ever assume the definition of anything. And I'm totally spacing out on the second one. Words, terms, and phrases. Let's get back to this. So term, this is the definition of term. That is the one that you should be thinking about. A word or group of words having a particular meaning, especially in a specific field. So terms, there's a lot of terms in law, right? You see all these Latin terms, right? Like just scrolling up, jus personarum, that's a term, right? So it's a word or group of words having a particular meaning, especially in a specific field. So all technical fields have terms, right? So words, and on the other hand, is a sound or combination of sounds or its representation in writing or printing that symbolizes and communicates a meaning and may consist of a single. Anyways, I don't want to get into all that. Jesus Christ. Let's go to this. Let's see. Word. A single unit of written or spoken language. Yeah. It's a series of symbols that have a meaning. That's the definition of word. I think the word a technically is a word. So it wouldn't be a series of, it could be a single symbol as well, technically speaking. That's what I, if I had to define the word, I would say a symbol or series of symbols that has a particular meaning. And again, the action of defining a word is to take it from an unlimited position and to bring it down to a clarified, delineated, limited position. So that is the actual conceptual idea of the word define, or the idea of a definition. So if you feel like you look at a series of symbols and it's just this like, it's everywhere, now you're going to become the warrior of freedom. And you're going to say, you're going to paint your face and you're going to have a spear in your hand and you're going to say freedom. And the route to freedom is to take something that seems limitless and sort of, you can't really locate it. That's the kind of like the feeling of an undefined word in someone's universe, right? And you're going to grab that fucking cocksucker by the throat and you're going to yank that fucker down and you're going to clarify it and limit the meaning of it by researching and looking through the different definitions and stuff like that. When you think of it that way, it can be kind of fun and engaging because you're like, I'm a warrior. It's freedom. It's freedom from myself. It's freedom from my family. That the action of becoming a state national is not anywhere near as important as the mental and emotional state of mind of someone who is constantly questioning words, terms, and definitions and phrases, and in a fun, engaging way, they are constantly searching and taking these limitless symbols, and they're bringing them down into a specific limited definition, especially one that can be easily communicated to others in an effort to spread and help them comprehend all of these different things. That's like the big philosophical idea behind all of this. And I know it seems silly and really, really simple, but I think it's not that simple. It took me 10 years to sort all that out and to really understand what it is that I'm doing with all of this and this kind of thing. So again, this is all an explanation of how someone like me could understand all of this so rapidly. 8 months, right? It's the understanding of trust law, the trustee beneficiary relationship. It's understanding the definition of word, the definition of phrase, the definition of term. And then it's understanding conceptually the activity of defining words and the enjoyment in the defining of words. So, for example, one of the things that we're taught as Scientologists is to clear up the derivation of the word, right? So, here's my favorite derivation dictionary. This is the online etymology dictionary. It's totally free. So let's say you type in the word soul, right? So you can see here the derivation is super long, right? I like that. So it goes from, generally speaking, it goes from the oldest derivation and then it's a timeline up to the newest derivation. I don't have etymology explorer app. I don't have my phone plugged into this thing that I'm doing these videos on. But this app right here, oh, dude, holy fuck. They have these trees and you can go like back to like when it was Latin or French and you can click on that and it opens up the thing and it shows you everything that it meant at that time period. And it breaks the word down into the different sections of the word. Oh my God. Like explorer, it'll go like explorer, 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 and then it'll break off and say EX and then plurer. And then it'll give you the two like derivational definitions of what each of those sections of the word meant. Oh my God, bro. If you want to go that deep on this and you want to really start breaking every single little section down and you want to start breaking down all the sections of the words and really, if you want to go that hard, which is an optional thing, that just means that much more freedom. So your freedom is exactly and directly attached to how far you take your warrior behavior and your warrior aspect of breaking down and fully understanding the definitions and sections of words and the derivations of words. So it's sort of optional if you want to do kind of like more of a surface understanding of the words for a little while. That's okay. But eventually, I think you'll wind up where I'm at, where you'll get lost in words, and it's like being lost in heaven. I don't know really what to tell you because you'll be searching through the derivation of a word or the definition of a word or the definition of a section of a word. And you'll come up against something and it will just completely change your life. It happens to me all the time. I mean, like every fucking day. So, like here's the derivation of the word soul. A substantial entity believed to be that in each person which lives, feels, thinks, and wills. This comes from probably an old dictionary, century dictionary. It comes from Old English, soul. This is the word from Old English. And that word meant spiritual and emotional part of a person. Animate existence. Animate existence, bro. Animate existence. Like, how fucking dope is that? I mean, like, I'm getting chills in my body just reading this. Life, living being, but animate existence, bro. Animate existence. Everyone wants to make you a slave. Everyone wants to make you a piece of wood. Everyone wants to make you a U.S. citizen, a franchise. And these definitions of these words and the things that I'm teaching you animate your existence. I mean, look at this. This can be confused into commerce law and the jurisdiction of the sea. Look at this. Sometimes said to mean originally coming from or belonging to the sea. Ooh, that's interesting. I'll bet you that ties into fucking the sea jurisdiction somehow. Because that was supposed to be the stopping place of the soul before birth or after death, coming from Barnhart. If that's true, it would come from Proto-Germanic, the word sewaz, which means from the lake, as a dwelling place of souls in ancient Northern Europe. I mean, dude, you could write a whole script on just that for a movie or for a TV show, or you could write like an epic fucking song. I mean, dude, like I'm literally getting chills just reading this. Like I've never read this before. Meaning spirit of a deceased person is attested from Old English from 971. That's the year. It's a long ass time ago. As a synonym for person, individual, human being, as in every living soul. Now that's been obviously fucked up now because person means everything under the sun, moon, and stars. They're trying to deliberately get you away from using that term meaning soul, right? They're trying to destroy the soul. So but by defining words and searching through words and definitions, you're literally, by definition, animating your existence and relocating and finding your soul. I mean, how fucking cool is that? How fucking insanely mind-blowing is that? So, I mean, I could talk about this, what we're talking about right now, for forever. And just, I'd start crying, literally. Like, it's so intense and it's so powerful. And it's so spiritual and it's so artistic. Like people think of like words, you know, dude, no. I am a musician. I am a writer of books. I used to scream in a metal band. I used to play guitar. I used to teach music theory. I used to play drums. I used to teach drums. Bro, I can tear up a fucking a guitar like you wouldn't believe. I can tear up a fucking keyboard, kind of. I can play drums. I can sing fairly well. I can scream like a fucking beast, like crazy. I'll tell you right now, man, this shit is spirituality. Words, phrases, and definitions, and going through all this. This is not some nerdy scientific thing. This is the essence of freedom, and it's the essence of spirituality. I mean, words are music. The lyrics, what do they mean? Words are stories. Stories are communicated through words. The understanding of words and phrases will turn you into such a tremendous artist. So I just, without me communicating and trying to share my love for words and definitions, that is how you're going to access the same power or intelligence that you may think I have that you don't have. And the truth is that you do have it. And as soon as you as soon as you become curious enough and you see the picture and you see what it means for yourself and the people that you love, like your children, fuck's sake, your children, your interest and desire and curiosity of words, phrases, and definitions directly translate to what kind of life that your children are going to have. And again, I'm not a parent. I'm not a father that I know of. I'm just kidding. So I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but I'm telling you, I promise you, this is the breaking point between you and everyone around you living a life of shackles and you and everyone around you living an amazing life of freedom. I promise you. I promise. So that's a complete side note that I wasn't even intending to get into. And we're already pretty heavily into this video. So let's continue. So point number 17, in contract law, the only way that someone can force reciprocation of a contract is if you've already accepted and consented to benefits. So when you get the driver's license, for example, they're saying, oh, you have this, privileged thing that we're giving you. when it comes to all of this, let's actually look at the word enfranchisement. Okay. So I have that word down here. So let's just go. So for example, you have accepted the benefit of Social Security. You are now obligated to reciprocate. You are contracted. The main benefit that ties you into being a U.S. citizen is actually the right to vote, which I've talked about before. Now, it gets a bit more complex than that. It's not tied to the right to vote. Technically, it's tied to the right to register to vote. We've already gone over that. This is called enfranchisement. Okay. So we're going to look at this definition right here. We have the word enfranchisement, right? Now, if you break down the different sections of the term enfranchisement, it probably means, like, theoretically, the word itself probably means to turn into or to make into a franchise, which we've talked about before at the beginning of the course, right? So the act of making free, giving a franchise or freedom to, investiture with privileges or capacities of freedom, or municipal or political liberty, admission to the freedom of a city, admission to political rights, and particularly the right of suffrage, which I believe that word means the right to vote, right? And that's literally how they trick you into enfranchisement, right? And again, I know there's a lot of right-leaning conservative people that really take their right to vote very, very seriously. Yeah, suffrage is the right to vote in political elections. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble for all my right-leaning friends, but that's the way it is, particularly the right of suffrage, right? Anciently, the acquisition of freedom by a feline from his lord, right? I don't know what that means. You can look that up. I don't want to get into that. So here's the second section. Look at this. The word is now principally either of the manumission of slaves. So I don't know what that, we're going to look that up right now. Manumission. This is page 698. This one I can probably find, manumission. I was waiting. Oh, bam. Check it out. The act. Oh, God, this is fucking rough. The act of liberating a slave from bondage and giving him freedom. In a wider sense, releasing or delivering one person from the power or control of another. Are you fucking kidding me? Manumission is the word. Let's go over it again. This is fucking mind-blowing. The act of liberating a slave from bondage and giving him freedom. In a wider sense, releasing or delivering one person from the power or control of another. Dude, you got to be fucking... Bro, we are definitely looking up the derivation of this word.
My new book, Keyboard Rich, How Anyone Can Earn Six Figures from Home with a Simple Bookkeeping.
Fuck, this is intense. Liberation from slavery, bondage, or restraint comes from the 1400. Bro, look at this. Christ's redemption of mankind. Bro, like, I'm literally like about to tear up on this shit. Freedom from feudal servitude. Freedom, emancipation. Freeing of a slave. To set free. Release from control. From manu, power of a master. Literally hand. And then man equals hand. Matir means to let go, which is where mission. So to let go or release from the power of a master. Manu, power of a master. Mission, let go or release. Specifically in relation to Negro slavery in British colonies by the 1660s. Holy fuck my ass. So let's go back to 698 enfranchisement. Okay. Fuck my ass. Okay. The word is now used principally either of the manumission of slaves, of giving to a borough or other constituency a right to return a member or members to parliament, or of the conversion of copyright into freehold. So it's the freeing of slaves. It's the act of giving someone municipal or political liberty because they're fucking slaves. That's what the word enfranchisement means. So when they give you your right, what they're doing is they're saying, I'm offering you a benefit that you already had. So that's the trick. But in exchange, now you're my slave because you've accepted the benefits and you've contracted into the benefits, because anyone can contract into anything they want. They're trying to trick you into contracting into something where they're giving you a quote unquote benefit. Now, here's an interesting thing. In order for something to be considered a benefit, both parties have to consider it a benefit. So you have to consider it a benefit, and they have to consider it a benefit. So the funny thing is that the day that you wake the fuck up and you realize that your driver's license and all this shit is not a benefit, and actually it's something horrible, it breaks the trust, because the trust is a trustee-beneficiary relationship. As long as you believe and think that you're being benefited by the trustee, there's a trust. The day you wake up and you go, wait a second, the driver's license, marriage license, and all these things, and the concealed carry permit, these are all actually slave contracts. These aren't benefits at all. You basically, legally, in that moment, you are now free. That's the way it works. Because in that moment, you say, oh my God, I'm not the beneficiary. Oh my God, I don't want to contract to this anymore. Oh my God, that's it. Contract's done. The moment you wake up and you decide that, you're free. You're completely fucking free. Everything else that I'm teaching you in this course is pretty much like the administrative aspects to now let them know that you're done and you're breaking the contract. Okay. So, I hope this isn't too much. So that's called enfranchisement. Enfranchisement is they give you they put the cookie out there, and as soon as you take it and eat it, you're now a slave. You're fucked. So learning how to avoid and spot enfranchisement and avoid it, or kill contracts that are enfranchisement, that is the whole point of this entire course. Okay, so basically what they're doing is they're giving you the benefit of voting for a president that is not really the actual government president, but it's a president of a private company that is acting as though it's the real government, which we've gone over already. As far as I can tell, the first time the use of enfranchisement, contracting people under fraud to take away their rights, was in the Reform Act of 1867. Avoiding and eliminating enfranchisement, that's what allows you to disconnect as a tacit U.S. citizen, which means that you revoke voter registration. But by law, I have read that you can still just show up on vote day and vote without registering. I think it's the registering to vote that actually is the trap that pulls you into the U.S. citizen designation. Yeah, we've already gone over that. Remember, register is a bad word. Whenever you hear that, a million alarms should be going on in your head, and you need to start asking a lot of questions. Once you stop consenting and actively negate and cut ties with all benefits offered by the government, your obligation to contribute is also eliminated. So people are always like, oh, you can't disconnect from the government, blah, blah, blah. You can, but the only way you can do it is you have to cut off all of the benefits that you're receiving. Because once you cut off all of the benefits that you're receiving, which none of them are actually benefits at all, once you cut off all these false benefits, that kills the contract, and now they can't request anything anymore. They can't ask you anything. They can't ask you questions. They can't do anything. So that is the whole point of everything I'm trying to teach you in this course, okay? So this is how you lawfully and legally disconnect from the government, okay? If a living person has no contract or tacit agreement with benefits, they have no obligation to live on the land of God, okay? Who has the right to say they own the land of God? Who has the right to say that you cannot move or travel due to their so-called possession of some road or byway? Would a normal, sane, friendly, supporting human act that way toward their fellow man? No. This is the behavior and acts of evil men with no self-esteem and deserves you pay them no mind. Yes, there is such a thing as ownership, but ownership is a contract with God. And if you violate his trust, then your contract is null and void instantly. There is a legal word called inducement, which means misrepresentation that leads a person to enter into a contract or transaction with false understanding of the risks and obligations. Okay. That is inducement. You're getting sucked into inducement literally all the time, constantly, like almost every day. Every single time you sign almost anything, sadly, you're getting tricked into some kind of inducement. And let's see, there's something else on that. Might be on my public notice page. Let's see here. Let's see here. This is I mean, there's some really interesting quotes that you can see on my public notice page. I mean, let's see. Inducement. We're talking about inducement. You know, there was something. Here we go. Brady versus United States. Very beautiful case law, by the way. Waivers of constitutional rights must be voluntary and knowingly intelligent acts done with sufficient awareness of the relevant circumstances and likely consequences. Obviously, every single fucking contract under the sun, moon, and stars that we're talking about in this course, practically every single thing in your entire life that you're contracted into did not fit this case law point. Now, we're not going to get into all the different aspects of a contract until way, way later in the course, because it's just a lot. And one of the points of a contract that has to be there in order for a contract to be there is that all of the terms and ideas of what's really going on in the contract have to be completely transparent. And if they're not, then the contract is considered null and void since the contract's inception. So not from that point, but it's retroactive all the way back to the beginning of when the contract was signed or put into play. So it actually, whenever you clean up any of these things or realize any of these things, instantaneously, like for example, with taxes, as soon as you understand all this stuff and you wake up to it, boom, it's now fraud all the way back to the inception, which is probably when you were 18 and took your first job and signed your first W-9 form. So it's not, it's actually a maxim of law that fraud vitiates everything. God knows of fraud instantly, and thus all fraud, no matter how well hidden, when it involves a piece of his land, means all contracts are instantly voided from their inception once fraud has been entered into the equation. So fraud burns the whole thing down all the way back to the very, very beginning. So if you signed a contract 50 years ago, technically even the birth certificate and the social security card, everything fits this. So, and the beauty of fraud is that fraud has no statute of limitations. So all this fraud and all this stuff that you see in the world right now, there will be a point of prosecution on all of this. And this fraud's been going on for, hundreds of years. They can still burn for all this fraud that's been going on for hundreds of years. There is no statute of limitations at all whatsoever. So very, very interesting. Again, I'm not really looking for people to burn. I know all this stuff is really horrible that's going on in the world with all of this legal stuff and everything else. But like I said before, I'm just like, whatever. We need to just put the trust back in, put the trustee beneficiary relationship back in, clean everything up, and just move on with our lives. Obviously, people who are doing this and who think this way should be stripped of their ability to be in positions of power or have money or decisions. But whatever, I think they should just be removed from society and rehabilitated in some kind of a separate sector of the world. And then once they've been fully rehabilitated, they can re-enter the human race. I think violence and as much as I love guns and everything like that, it's just not really what I'm trying to do at this course, or what I really think is the correct solution. So I know people aren't going to be on that same page with me, but that's okay. All I can do is just tell you what I think, and I don't think that allowing anger and revenge and frustration to poison your world, I just don't think it's worth it. The whole point of all this is that now you can calmly and quietly break free of all of this and help all of your friends and family break free. And if enough people focus mainly on the education and freeing of themselves and their family and their loved ones and their children, it sort of spreads out like this beautiful thing, and it can spread out to the whole country super fast. And we don't need to be in a fight or a battle with some foreign sandbox. It's like, just let them do whatever the fuck they want to do, and then we're going to do what we're going to do. But we're done with the contracts. Goodbye. So that's what I think is the correct thing to do. Yeah. So there you go. That's video number 17. I wasn't expecting to get into all of that philosophical stuff, but I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you in your search for freedom for yourself and your family. And I will see you in video number 18. Bye-bye.
I started to get my life back when I reached out for help.
18. Okay. All right. Video number 18. Whew, I almost cried a couple times in that last one, man. That's a really emotionally powerful stuff, man. That derivation of the word soul and just how it relates to all this stuff is just heavy duty, man. This is just this stuff is just so beautiful. I mean, it's just literally breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. I mean, just, you think nature is a powerful force. This is nature. This is nature. You're seeing nature. You're seeing a beautiful sunrise. You're seeing, the crash of waves. You're seeing the dolphin fin coming out of the water. You're seeing, the ducks crossing the road, the family of ducks crossing the road. I mean, that's what this is. This is the animation of life. That's literally what this is. So let's move on to point number 18. Point number 18, you can reserve your rights at the beginning of any court case or police interaction. By doing this, you stay within the jurisdiction of common law. By not doing this, you grant jurisdiction and move into strictly statutory law, which is the UCC ultimately. To do this, you voice or write without prejudice above or below a signature. I've already gone over that with you. This combined with the human signature is how you learn how to sign things in a way like traffic tickets to make them instantly void. We've already gone over that, right? UCC 1-2074. Let's take a peek at this. This is important. Hmm. 1-207.4. Withdrawn. Interesting. I don't know why it's withdrawn. Could there be some sort of conspiracy behind that? I don't know. Section 1-207 was modified to become UCC 1-308 in 2004. Okay. We've already gone over that. So I don't know where this has gone, but I'm sure it's gone somewhere. When a waivable right or claim is involved, the failure to make such a reservation thereof causes a loss of the right and bars its assertion at a later date. So this probably got moved somewhere else. They like to do that. I'm sure it's probably located somewhere else. What this means is that if you fail to reserve your rights at the beginning of any interaction or contract, you cannot then assert your rights at a later date of that contract. It's like a one and done, one shot deal. So you want to make sure that every single time you're in a position where you should be, or you think you may, or even 1% of you is like, should I reserve my rights? You should do it. Because if you don't, you're likely to not have another chance to do it later. Okay. That's very important. UCC 1-103.6. This is involving all of the UCC. This is this is the purpose of the UCC. Must be liberally construed and applied to promote its underlying purposes and policies, which are 1, to simplify, clarify, and modernize the law governing commercial transactions. 2, to permit the continued expansion of commercial practices through custom usage and agreement of the parties. And 3, to make uniform the law among the various jurisdictions. To make uniform the law among the various jurisdictions. Now that's pretty creepy. Okay. You can use stuff like this to your advantage. And the way that you do that is you say, officer, or judge, or this, or that. As per UCC 1-103, the construction of the entire fucking code, the purpose of it, point number 1, you'd say point number 2 says to permit the continued expansion of commercial practices through custom usage and agreement of the parties. How does this that you're trying to do with me, how does that fit into point number 2, for example, right? You can shut people down using this kind of information, right? But this is the point I wanted to show you. Point number B, or letter B, subsection B. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. Unless displaced by the particular provisions of the Uniform Commercial Code, the principles of law and equity, including the law merchant and law relative to the capacity to contract, principal and agent, estoppel, fraud, misrepresentation, duress, coercion, mistake, bankruptcy, and other validating or invalidating costs supplement its provisions. Wait, what the fuck? Did they change this? They're always trying to change this shit. It used to say something different, I think, or maybe this one is an old version. I don't know, but at one point in time it said the code is complementary to the common law, which remains in force except where displaced by the code. A statute should be construed in harmony with the common law unless there is a clear legislative intent to abrogate the common law. So they're sort of saying the same thing, kind of, in here. They took the word common law out and put in the principles of law and equity, which is just a little bit more confusing. A lot of these terms are common law terms, I believe. So they're basically just not saying the words common law. But basically, that's what they mean here make uniform the law among the various jurisdictions. This is basically talking about where does the UCC meet up with common law, and it's supposed to complement common law, right? The thing is that common law is only available for people who are actually in the jurisdiction of the land, and that's why everything is geared to put you into the jurisdiction of the sea, because then when they put you in the jurisdiction of the sea, you're under the UCC, not common law anymore. But common law is where all your rights are. So, yeah. The way to be free is to constantly and continually operate with this question in mind. How do I stay in common law exclusively, meaning the jurisdiction of, and avoid the UCC and statutory jurisdiction at all times? If you learn this and live your life by it, you will walk the earth as a child of God, an archangel, but you need to put that endless freedom to use to serve and help others. This post is to create soldiers of God that are the enemies of slavery and shackles. This post is to empower you so that you can stand up and empower others. They don't control common law. They only control the statutes. Stay out of the statutes, and you take away their control. And that goes back to this whole idea of enfranchisement and manumission. So basically what you're doing when you get into all this and you start doing all this is it's the manumission of yourself as a slave. And then you can now turn around and perform manumission on others to free them from slavery. So that's it for I think point number 18. I don't think I really have anything else to say about this. So I will see you at video number 19.
How would you like to collect 5-figure checks by
Boy, this one might be a bit of a thick one. Let's just so you know, this is, I don't know everything there is to know about trust. So just a little forewarning. I'm going to tell you what I can about it. And then you might have to kind of go off on your own a little bit. So let's get started. Trusts are a way to practice commerce, but stay in common law. Okay. Pure contract trusts, especially one structured as a 508c1a faith-based organization, allow you to operate entirely out of the jurisdiction of statutory law. Now, let's go into a little something. We have a maxim of law. And the maxim of law is whatever creates something, creation, such shitty fucking creation. I don't know why, but whatever. That word is creation. Creation equals ownership. Well, let's see here. Oh, Jesus. Ownership and control. Creation equals ownership and control. Okay. So what's happened is that you have government, which is incorporated, right? Now they've created on purpose to try and fool people a bunch of different types of trusts, right? Let me see if I can quickly look this up. Types of trust. Testamentary trust, charitable trust, special needs trust. Anyways, blah, 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 blah. None of them are really all that useful because they're created by government. Blah, blah, blah. These are called public And yeah. Now you have what kind of trust? There's only one kind of trust really created that comes straight from the Bible, and it comes straight from trust law, and it wasn't created by the government. And I believe so the main term is it's called a pure contract trust. Pure contract trust. Pure contract trust, right? And I believe another word for it is, let me just check Black's Law here. I believe there's another word for it. An express trust. Let me just see here. Incorporations, sole proprietorships, LLCs, all these things that you normally hear about, they're all in the public sector. So what you're trying to do with the trust is you're trying to go into the private sector. So let's just clear that up real quick before we get into the type of trust. We'll come back to the express trust. So public sector organizations are owned, controlled, and managed by the government or other state-run bodies. Owned, controlled, and managed. Okay? That's your employment development department. That's your tax people. That's your this. That's your this. That's your that. So when you have a public company, like an incorporated company, a C Corp, an S Corp, an LLC, a sole proprietorship, those are all public companies. Public companies are owned, controlled, and managed by the government or other state-run bodies. That's how you get into their statutes, right? You have to follow their rules and their laws. And if you don't, they charge you. Now, private sector organizations are owned, controlled, and managed by individuals, groups, or business entities. Now, what does that mean? That means you're not in the jurisdiction of their taxes or their rules or their statutes at all. Now, sounds pretty sweet, right? How do you go private? There's two main ways you can go private, right? Number one is by opening what's called a private membership association, a PMA. Is men and women. Look at that. Men and women. How lovely. Men and women collectively asserting and standing upon their rights to determine what devices, products, procedures, or services will be used by them to maintain the health of their own body, mind, or spirit. A private memberships club is an association dedicated to a particular interest or activity. Membership is voluntary, and admission to a club, if you are not a founder, is often based on a set of established criteria. Okay. There's different companies that can help you put together a PMA. It looks like pretty cool. I think David Strait actually works with one. I forget the name of it. They actually help people put together PMAs. So a PMA is basically like, you give me $1 or 50 cents or something like that, and like now you're a member. And a PMA is like its own private world. You are the government. You are the employment development department. You are the tax department. Like whatever you say, whatever the board of directors or whatever, I don't really know if it's called that. It's called whatever the fuck you want to call it. The private membership organization is your own little world. So you can open a PMA to do absolutely anything. And as far as I know, you could even open like a dental office or something like that, and you wouldn't even need a license to practice. Obviously, the people who are signing up would have to sign a membership agreement, and they would have to pay membership fees. Like, for example, I run dental offices, right? So let's say you wanted to open up a private membership association for dental offices. What you would do is you would say, like most people need to get their teeth cleaned every 6 months. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, right? So a normal teeth clean, let's say it's like $120 or something. I'm just throwing a number out there. You could say, it's $240 a year for membership. And then that includes 2 teeth cleanings per year. So they would sign a document that states those provisions. And then they would become members of a private membership association, which is a dental office. Now, when you do that, you're pulling yourself completely and entirely out of statutes completely. That includes needing a license. That includes rules and laws as to how the dental office needs to be set up. That includes everything under the sun, moon, and stars. Now, there are probably a lot of patients out there who that might scare them, the fact that it's completely unregulated. That's up to you. It's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what's available and what you can do. So this whole idea of like, oh, you need a license to practice this or a license to do this or a license to do that. No, you don't. You don't need any of that. Again, licenses are given to slaves. Licenses are given to trusts. A human being does not need a license for any reason. Nothing. So do keep in mind, you can open up a private membership. Now, do I know anything about private membership associations? Not really. Have I ever opened one? No. Have I ever been associated with anyone who has opened one? No. But actually, I did go to a shooting range recently that's a PMA. And that was pretty cool. It really was like its own world. I mean, completely. PMAs are really dope. If you want to learn more about those, go ahead and look it up. You can look it up all through here. Super awesome, super powerful, pulls you out of everything. You are completely privatized. You are completely non-public, and you are the government of what you're doing. So if you and your buddy are the main people who are the founders of a PMA, you and your buddy are now the president and the Secretary of State and the tax gods and the this and the that and the license hold, whatever you guys want to create in your own little world, that is what becomes the reality of the people who are contracted in as private members of your private membership association. So that's option number one. Pretty cool. I'll probably have one of these pretty soon. I do not have one of these at this moment. I do want to learn more about these, and I will be getting into this and opening one of these for myself at some point in time. Now, number two is like I was talking about before, the common law pure contract trust, otherwise I think known as an express trust. But I'm just checking that out just to make sure. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get you out of the public into the private. Okay. And there's pros and cons to both sides. I'm not telling you what to do. Don't give a fuck. Like I said, you can go get yourself a nice, real ripe, nice and green, knobby fucking 7-inch cucumber. Jam that fucking thing right up your ass. I could give a fuck less. This is just to tell you what's available, because you know what? You don't know what's available. How can you decide and live your life and make decisions for yourself and your loved ones and your family if you don't even know what the fucking choices are? It's no different than when you go into a court of law and they say, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty? First off, you shouldn't be pleading. And second off, there's other choices besides guilty and not guilty. You're just never told that. Same thing with a lot of the forms. Oh, are you a U.S. citizen? Yes or no? Well, what other choices do I have? You aren't told. So the whole point of this course is to tell you your options, not to tell you what to do. I could give a fuck less, truly. Express trust. EXP. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Dun, 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 dun. Baby, you and me now. That's a good ass song. Reminds me of Clerks 2, the movie, which is like literally one of the greatest movies ever. If you've never seen Clerks 2, oh my God. Clerks 3 is coming out. I am so fucking excited about Clerks 3, dude. Oh my God. Kevin Smith is a fucking genius. Okay. Express. Ooh. Are we getting close? Are we getting close? No, we're not. Okay. Let me see. Trust. We can look up the definition of trust. Why the fuck not? I don't think I ever have. Just because it's like you read about it all day long and it's like, okay, it's one of those things. But that's me violating not my own rules. That's me violating God's rules, which is don't ever assume the definitions of words. So, yeah. Let's do it. Let's see what we got. What do we got here? Constructive trust. Wait. Trust in general. A right of property, real or personal, held by one party for the benefit of another. Yeah, that's what we drew that at the beginning of the course. A confidence reposed in one person who is termed trustee for the benefit of another who is called the cestui trust, respecting property which is held by the trustee for the benefit of the cestui trust. Any arrangement whereby property is transferred with intention that it be administered by a trustee for another's benefit. Okay, good. A fiduciary relation with respect to property, subjecting person by whom the property is held to equitable duties to deal with the property for the benefit of another person, which arises as the result of a manifestation of an intention to create it. Kind of complicated. A trust can be created for any purpose which is not illegal and which is not against public policy. Essential elements of trust are designated beneficiary and trustee. Yeah, of course. Okay. Active trust. Cestui trust. The person for whose benefit a trust is created or who is to enjoy the income or the avails of it. Charitable trust. Complete voluntary trust. Constructive trust. Contingent trust, direct trust. There's a lot of these. I do not know all of these. If you would like to study all of these because you're interested in learning more about trust law, and every minute you spend in the area of trust law is a minute very well spent. I probably will study these at some point. I'm just so excited about everything, and I'm just kind of going down the rabbit hole. At some point in time, it'll come to an end at some point in time, or I'll start to kind of dry up in terms of all the things that I'm realizing, and I'll probably come back and start from the beginning, which is trust law, and I'll probably study all of these in great detail in the very near future. Express trust. A trust created or declared in express terms and usually in writing, as distinguished from one inferred by the law from the conduct or dealings of the parties. Yeah. So that would be an express trust or a pure contract trust, or however you want to say it, right? So a 508c1a A 508c1a means that the financial records and the board meeting minutes are not subject to public scrutiny. It means fully privatized. Unlike the 501c3, that's the one that you normally think of when you hear of a church or a nonprofit organization. That is required to file their records with the IRS for the purpose of public scrutiny. Why anyone would file a 501c3 is beyond me. A 508c1a is the private version of that. right? So a 508c1A is basically a fully privatized trust.
The grass is green, this is the best. Summertime's here and it's Hoagie Fest.
Wawa Hoagie Fest is back. Celebrate with $5 shorties or $6 classics.
Summertime's here and it's Hoagie Fest.
Okay? It's called a faith-based organization. Now, you think to yourself, I don't want to open a church. Okay. A 508c1A, when you start getting into religion, it's above and beyond what the governments have a jurisdiction over, especially a government that's a fucking incorporated entity. They don't have hardly, I mean, when you really wake up and you're waking up to all this now, they don't have jurisdiction over anything. But religion and that kind of thing is really where they start to lose their jurisdiction, right? Big time. So faith cannot be defined or clarified or scrutinized by the government or anybody, right? So a faith-based organization can be literally anything your fucked up, over-sexualized mind can possibly dream up. The government cannot tell you or define faith for you. If you sell tacos on the side of the road and you love tacos because it reminds you of a vagina and you worship the women or their bodies, that is your faith, and the government cannot tell you otherwise. Pure contract trusts are not created by government, and thus they cannot control or own it. Pure contract trusts come from canon law and the Bible, and they are senior to government because they're in the heir jurisdiction. So what you're doing is you're moving all of your commerce activity from the C jurisdiction to the heir jurisdiction, which we've gone over before, and I think you're tracking with that. I'm not going to draw all that out again. And here's some case law. That way you're not thinking, oh, I've lost my mind and I'm just full of shit. A pure contract trust is not subject to legislative control. The U.S. Supreme Court holds that trust relationship comes under the realm of equity based on the common law and is not subject to legislative restrictions, as are corporations and other organizations created by legislative authority. Holy fucking bleach my taint. So check it out. Let's go back to me for a moment. As I said before, creation equals ownership, right? The public realm is created by and underneath. Again, let's go back. Public versus private. Public sector organizations are owned, controlled, and managed by the government or other state-run bodies. That's your incorporated, your LLC. Get rid of all that shit. I'm at that point. I'm telling you what to do. So maybe I don't really want to do that. So I got rid of all my shit. I think it's stupid for you not to. So it's up to you if you want to get rid of all your shit or not. I'm going fully private, and I'm going to continue to work on that until it's pretty much already done. But I'm going to continue to work on that. I'm going to open a PMA and do all sorts of other cool shit. So, by the way, a little side note: if anyone needs help privatizing all of their businesses and all of their activities, that is a huge project. I'd be more than happy to help you with that for absolutely asinine sums of money. So if you would like to do that, please do contact me. I think that would be a lot of fun to learn on my end how to do all that at the same time helping someone else do that as well. So that is a huge, massive service that I would like to offer to anyone who is interested in doing all this. So a package deal with something like that on my end would be fully privatizing you, changing your status, cleaning up everything, revocation of election, getting your passport straightened out. And then after that point, we would fully privatize everything in your entire business. I would love to do like a many hundreds of millions of dollar business and just privatize the whole fucking thing. That would be so gangster, bro. So fucking gangster. So if you're interested in that, or if you know anyone who would like to do that, please have them get a hold of me. be more than happy to give you a pretty hefty referral commission for something like that, because that would be a really cool thing that I would love to do for somebody. Okay, coming back to this. So what we're trying to do is move you from the public into the private, okay? As an individual, obviously, that's changing your status and doing all this. And then now we're starting to get into the commerce end of things, pulling you out of the sea jurisdiction, putting you into the air jurisdiction and the land jurisdiction. You're still going to be in the sea jurisdiction as well. It's like you have, 3 legs. And the biggest leg, the strongest leg is going to be in the air jurisdiction, in the trust area. The second largest leg and the second stair piece down is going to be the land jurisdiction, which is where all your rights are and where humanity is. And then the third and last leg, least important, but you will be operating within it, is the sea jurisdiction, which is the commerce jurisdiction, etc. Right? But instead of the commerce jurisdiction fully owning and controlling you like a slave, and you being a slave to all of these things and getting fined and having people show up at your doorstep because you broke these stupid ass statutes, it's going to be the other way around, where if they come onto your property or if they come snooping around, you can actually sue them for trespassing or lien them for trespassing. That's always fun. You really scare the fuck out of some people. If somebody comes along from the city of Los Angeles and they tell you that you and your employees need to wear a mask, and you say, "Oh, we need to wear a mask, huh?" So what gives you the authority? What contract am I involved in that gives you the authority to tell me that I have to wear a mask and my employees have to wear a mask? Yeah, that's right. Either you get the fuck out of here, or I'm going to lien you for trespassing. You've got 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. They love that shit. So that gives you an idea of the power of privatization and the power of operating a commerce-related thing in the private entirely. Now, can a PMA be structured as a trust, or how does all that work? I don't really know the answer to that question. I would say you probably should do it that way, and the reason why is because once you have your trust all set up, and you can go to these guys like, I think James C. Lovett does trust. I could be wrong, but you have the PCS 1-308. He does trusts. You have, I'm sure someone with David Strait can help you. I have a guy, he's really expensive though, who can help you put up these trusts. It's not that complicated. You don't go to a fucking lawyer to put together a decent trust. They don't have any clue about any of this shit. So you want to stay away from lawyers at all costs if you want this done correctly, okay? People think like, oh, you go to a lawyer for a trust. No. The lawyer is I would sooner rather have a crackhead who weighs 40 pounds and is sucking dick behind a dumpster to open up a trust before I would go to a fucking lawyer, generally speaking, just to be very clear on that, okay? So you kind of have to either look it up online or know someone. You can probably how to open up an express trust. I don't know if I would trust a lot of these. Open up. I want to open a pure contract trust account. Trust. You're going to open up what's called an irrevocable private pure contract trust. Irrevocable means that it can never be closed or destroyed. And then private means private versus public. And then pure contract trust means there's a lot of hit pieces on private pure contract trust that they're illegal, that they're this, that they're that. It's all bullshit. It's all just out there to try and push you away from opening them. They're 100% legitimate. It's just that it scares all of the public organizations, the fact that someone can just literally just completely exit their jurisdiction, like I said before, through the greased open door. Very, very easy. So Elliott versus Freeman. That's the quote on that one. And then the second quote I wanted to go over is the trustees of a trust have all the powers necessary to carry out the obligations which they assume. Their books and records are not subject to review or subpoena. That's from Smith and Morse. Smith versus Morse. Now, keep in mind, public versus private. So I'm assuming this quote from Smith versus Morse is involving private trusts, which would be a 508c1a, which would be a private membership organization, which would be a private trust. So if you opened up a 503c1 or C3, 501c3, which is the normal one you usually see, that one probably wouldn't fit this particular case law, because that one, see, if this is true, which this is from destiny508.com, I'm assuming this information is probably true. A 508c1a financial records and board meeting minutes are not subject to public scrutiny. That would fit with this particular case law, right? But you have, unlike the 501c3, which is required to file their records with the IRS for the purpose of public scrutiny. So if you opened up a trust and labeled it in that way, it wouldn't fit within this case law. So getting someone to help you with all of this and pay for all of this is extremely, extremely valuable. This is now we're moving out here. That's why this is so kind of late. We're doing it on video 19. So all the initial videos are all like changing your status and changing things as an individual, right? And then now we're starting to expand outward in terms of now you're all cleaned up. Now we're expanding you outward in terms of interacting with other people and going into the activity of commerce with others. That's what this is all about. So ideally, you've filed your revocation of election. You've cleaned up all your stuff. You've cleaned up all your tax stuff. You've done the passport. You've changed your driver's license. You've canceled your voter registration, just like all the different things on the thing that we were drawing earlier in terms of what draws you into the contract. You've done all those steps that you can possibly do in your own area, change your citizenship. You've done all these things, clarified everything, learned all the terminology. Now, you can do it all at the same time with the trust if you want. I did that. I was like, fuck that. I'm doing it all at the same time. I'm just going to learn it a million miles an hour. I did the trust and everything else all at the same time. Now you're going to start to move out from that point, and you're going to start to use a trust, and you're going to start to figure it all out. You do want to find someone who can help you learn about how to operate your trust, not just open one for you and hand it to you and just disappear. That's not good. You do need to learn. It's not a lot to learn, but you do need to learn the basics of the rules and stuff like that you need to know in order to administer your trust, operate your trust, how to run the trustee beneficiary relationship. What rights do you have? What should you say? What shouldn't you say? Some people like to go and have their trust documentation published. It's called, I think there's actually a process called notification of trust, something like that, where you publicly, and some people don't want to do any of that. There are different options and stuff like that in terms of what you can do with your trust. You can open up a whole bunch of trusts. There is a lot of information about breaking the veil of a trust. Generally speaking, when lawyers are able to pierce the veil of a trust, it's not a pure contract trust. It's one of the government operated trusts, because the government operated trusts are within the confines of, like we said, public versus private. The trusts that are run by the government are public sector trusts that are controlled and managed by the government or other state-run bodies. That's how they pierce the trust. Private sector trusts and organizations are not very easy to pierce, especially when you know your rights. So the beauty of trusts is also the asset protection aspect, right? So when you place your car and your business and all the stuff that you own into the trust, it becomes extremely difficult, if not completely impossible, to access all of those assets. So doing this is something that you can, and what's cool too is you can take your business and all of the shit that you own, and you can put it in a trust or even a series of trusts. And then when you create the trust and you file the trust, there's actually a position called successor, which is basically like if the beneficiaries die off or something happens, or if the trustees die off or whatever, then the whole trust kind of moves down to your children, right? And this is how people get away from like probate and death taxes and kind of all the taxes in relation to when you die, the government comes and takes everything from you. When you put all your money and all your shit and your business and your cars and your buildings and your real estate and even things like the rights to a book or, you know, any of these things, and you put it all in the trust, then you protect it and it automatically goes to your children if anything were to happen to you. So all of this privatization and all of this like probate planning can all be rolled into the same activity. You can create a private membership organization and a trust over top of it. You can do a trust, and then you can structure the trust to be like in the form of a 508c1a, and then within the trust it would define what the faith is and what the purpose of the faith is. You can do all sorts of really cool things. That's an area that, again, that's a big, huge monster fucking project that's going to cost an arm and a leg to do. And there's probably practically no one on the planet that would even offer a service like that. That is something of interest to me. So again, if you know of anyone who would like to do something like that, hit me up. I would love to talk to you in great length and see about maybe making a deal together. So there you go. I believe that's everything for this video. You can definitely go and study all the different trust aspects in the Black's Law 4th edition. You can look up more on a PMA. And I'm trying to think if I've covered everything here. Yeah, I think I have. This is, I was expecting this to be a little longer, but I guess not. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're good. So that's video number 19. That's trust, commerce. We're starting to move out concentrically. We're starting to move out from you as an individual, which is really cool. And I will see you guys at video number 20. Bye-bye.